Hey everybody, this is Renae Lipsmeyer from The Space Between, and you're listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind 31 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Space Between. Today I have a lovely guest, Suzanne, who has agreed to be on today. So knowing that our podcast is kind of morphed into this thing that is accessible by your ears and your eyes. And so Suzanne, thank you for being a good sport and going, yes, I will be on your crazy podcast / YouTube channel, whatever it is that you're doing, Renae. Yes, I will do it. How are you, Suzanne?
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
here. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the upcoming tour.
Me too. So tell us what it looks like for you. First, I want you to give us a little bit of background, like who are you?
Oh,
Where do you live? And like how did you even find the band?
so I've born and bred in New Jersey. I've traveled all over the place, just in my regular life, but particularly to see the band because it brings great adventure. Um, I've been to almost 350 shows at this point, 22 years, I think, of following the band. It could be 23.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I figured out probably 8 or 9 countries so far.
Wow.
Yeah, we jumped halfway into the European tour in 2019 and did 8 cities, followed them around. And then, of course, Mexico, Canada, Bahamas many years ago on a Dave and Friends cruise. I think about how long I've been doing this, and it's like, wow, this is like, it's getting close to half my life. I mean, it's crazy.
But
But
it's all positive, right? Like it's all joyous times.
any other way to spend my summers?
Mm-hmm.
Not that, we don't do anything else but go to shows, but it's definitely the calendar is there and the shows are marked well before the summer starts.
Absolutely. So everything else kind of has to bend around the Dave
Yes,
Matthews
that's
Band.
I've already had to make my peace with that, but
Yep. I used to have a boss that would come to me before tour season released and was like, okay, I want to schedule my vacation time, but I knew I needed to talk with you first to see when Dave was playing. And I was like, I'm so in love with you right now as a boss. Thank you.
right. Well, fortunately for me, I am my own boss, so that
Me
gives
too
me,
now.
yes.
Yay.
So I have my own business. I have a beautiful little jewelry business, and I work very hard off season so that in the summertime I can travel and follow my favorite band and see my favorite people. So
So
it's
tell us about your jewelry business. How did you get into that? Like, has that been something that you've tinkered around with your whole life, or like, how did you get into, that's a very specific trade. So how did you get into that?
yes, I'm basically the fine jewelry business. So I know a lot about diamonds and gemstones, but interestingly, my grandfather, my mother's father, was a jeweler. When I was
Awesome.
growing up, we always had nice jewelry in the family, and we always knew about nice jewelry and keeping it, not losing it, and keeping it nice.
Mhm.
And I sort of grew up with that. And then I went to high school, and in my local town is one of the best jewelry stores pretty much in the country where I grew up in New Jersey. And I started working for them when I was about 15. And
Awesome.
a crazy time in the economy. Everybody had tons of money. And I just worked there part time and I got really used to it. And then I went off to college in the Bronx. So I was commuting to school and I had a very heavy schedule at the beginning of the week. And at the end of the week, I had Thursday afternoons and Friday off. And I worked almost a full week while I was in college because not only was I really good at it, but I loved it. And
Hmm.
it was good money at the time.
Yeah.
So that continued. I became a buyer for a big designer. And then a lot of people in the industry said to me, you really could do this for yourself instead of standing on your feet and helping make other people successful. So
Right.
I started my own business in, I don't know, 1999, kind of like,
Yay.
seeing customers privately, and that morphed
Hmm.
to, a full-time business. And I'm really, really happy that it's given me, the opportunity to be able to make my own decisions and run my own time as
Mm-hmm.
I like. It's very demanding certain times of the year, and it's demanding as any other career could be, but it's it's been good to me. So I'm happy about it. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've
Well,
met
we're all super big fans of your work, and I've seen a lot of your work, and I'm impressed every time. And so you're definitely a jeweler that my husband's like, yes, yes,
thank
you can buy stuff from her.
Yeah, in the community, there's been a number of people who really didn't know anybody to trust, and they reached
Mhm.
out to me to either repair like an heirloom or reset something for them into something very meaningful. Repurposing, redesigning fine jewelry is one of my fortes. And then, of course, Dave Matthews fans have asked me to get engagement rings for them, and I've been invited to their weddings and seen their
Oh
children.
my goodness.
It's just part of the wonder and the magic of this community. There's just so many great people in this community.
Absolutely. Now, if someone is not familiar with your work and they want to look at some of the things that you have created in the past, what would be some ways where they could dig in and kind of see what your work looks like?
So my website's under construction. I have a lot of before and after pictures of pieces that we've repurposed and redesigned. But we do have social media. It's Brilliance Fine Jewelry by Suzanne on Facebook, and that's linked to our Instagram. And
Awesome.
we do post frequently. And you might notice I made that for myself, which is
I love it. I love it so much that I have the baby version. You have like the mama version, and I have the baby version.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I've been working very hard this season, getting a lot of sales in, so that when summertime comes, we can relax that a little bit.
Absolutely. So, what show is on your radar for 2023? What are shows? Because you and I have talked
Yeah,
outside of this broadcast. So, I think we've added a few
every time
more.
someone, well, we all do it the same, right, Renee? I mean, it's like, oh,
Yes.
you're going to that one? Well, maybe
I mean,
I'll.
it's like if you're there and they're only 4 hours away,
And if you're
you just
driving, I could
you
just.
do it.
So
It'd be silly
I
not
would
to.
love to go to the Mexico openers. Was just fortunate enough to be in Cancun, which was fantastic. But that's Mother's Day, so I'm going to have to sit that out. And some of my girls talked me into doing the Texas openers, so I'll be there. And then
Yay!
up on your ride and get to Arkansas next, which is a nice
Yes.
small show. It's a nice venue that I've never been to, and I would love to see your home and your
Yes, it's going to be fabulous. Arkansas, I think we cap somewhere around 10,000 people. So it's a very small venue,
yeah.
which a lot of people want to dump on small venues and especially weekday. But has anyone read all the posts that's like, you never miss a weekday
Yeah,
show?
I
You
believe
don't.
I can tell you every year I'll pay premiums, to get into the pit for the weekend shows because they're so crowded. But,
Hmm.
weekday shows, usually it's much easier to manage. And with the freedom of my schedule, I can usually manage to find a pretty good, the ticket game is real though. Let's face it. It's everybody scrambles, it's like everybody's panicking, everybody's wishing, hoping, praying,
Hmm.
overpaying. But
Yes.
I've learned over the years to just kind of let it be, and it sort of somehow falls into place. But yeah,
Oh,
I'm fortunate enough to live in a place where a lot of shows are drivable for me. So,
hmm.
SPAC is about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Hartford's 90 minutes. Jones Beach is under an hour. Homedale is my home venue. That's 40 minutes. Camden is 2 hours. My brother lives in Mansfield, like 10 minutes from the venue there. So fortunately, those are drivable for me. And
Awesome.
then I try to sneak in the West Palm weekend all the time. It's just a great weekend. And the
I
Gore.
really want to. I've never been. I almost went last year, and then I'm so thankful that I didn't because, of course, it got canceled or postponed or
Yeah,
postponed. And so that would have been a nightmare to have flown into Florida and then not even gotten a
that's
show. I wouldn't have gone back, but
a lot of money.
maybe this year.
Yeah,
Hmm.
happen. But Deer Creek is another show that I try not to miss. It's either usually Alpine or Deer Creek, and Deer Creek has just so many great people there, and it's always
Does.
a great weekend. So I usually do that double header too, and then New Hampshire is another double header. It's in the middle of the week, which is they have a huge pit, and it's beautiful up there. We go in the lake during the day. We
Oh,
go
yeah.
around the lake, a whole bunch of us, and so fortunately, I've got a lot at my fingertips. And then
Mhm.
I've got a lot of friends in California, so I always go visit them for the California show. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's where I am right now. That's why it looks like I
a lot.
have an office behind me because I'm literally working in California, setting up some stuff for this season. I actually went to Palm Springs yesterday, which most people I think go to Palm Springs to like check in. Like it's beautiful. Number one, it's warm there.
My good DMB friends from Salt Lake are spending their winter there.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's it's dry, it's beautiful, it's all the things. And so we went to a store yesterday called Music Hills Incorporated. And so if you ever go to Palm Beach, there's just a little store there. It's like records and music things, but their whole goal is a portion of their proceeds go to help kindergarten through 12th graders to make sure that they have music programs in schools. So if you ever happen to go to Palm Beach, stop in and be sure to
Um,
tell them
I
that the
work
space
there.
between no
I work
it will
there.
stop in my
I
sticker
work.
my
Yeah.
podcast sticker is literally on their front door, so as you push to go in you will see my face, so go in and tell them I sent you there and show them lots of love in Palm
Well,
Beach.
I'll be back there in a week and a half. I'm going to make sure.
Awesome, you definitely need to do it then. They're just great, they have so
Uh,
many great things going on.
that's
So
wonderful.
when do you how often do you come to Palm Springs?
Oh, no, Palm Beach, I thought you said.
No, I'm in Palm Springs, but
Oh,
Palm Beach, I mean, like,
Palm
I
Beach.
will go.
Palm Springs, my good Dave Matthews friends are there for the winter. Kelly and Mike. They live in,
Gotcha.
and they've asked me to come there and visit. I have to go and visit them because they
It's
spend the
great.
winter there because it's so cold in Salt Lake.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music, on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
It's great. It just kind of feels, I mean, compared to where I live, it is so completely different. So that
Yeah.
seems weird, but maybe I'm the weird one. I never know, right? But it's completely different in Palm Springs, California. It's beautiful though. So if anyone goes, stop in, say hi. So when I first reached out to Suzanne, actually we've been talking back and forth, but I was like, hey, did you know that Buddy's name is Arthur? And she was like, yeah. And I was
I
like,
won't
I
lie.
had
I told him when he joined the band. I
no
won't lie.
idea. No idea.
Like, who
So
is he? Who
I
is
had no idea. But I mean, I'm not getting to know most of them on a personal basis. So like nicknames and stuff are not my forte. But I came up to I just kind of Googled him because I am doing this for a living now. And so it's kind of my job to get to know the fans, but then also specifically like some things about the members of the band so we can talk about that. So I came across an article called Arthur Strong. And I was like, I swear I didn't know. But honestly, I didn't know how much he had done before the Dave Matthews Band. And when I read this article, I loved him more, if that's possible. Like I've always loved his energy and like his enthusiasm. Like everything he does on that stage is super contagious. Like he can make you smile with his smile. He can make you dance with his dance. Like he's just contagious, as they all are. But he, is just a different level of that. And so, Buddy, now are you a stage left or a stage right kind of girl? What are you?
It's interesting because I happened to meet him the very first show of when he joined the band in 2018 in Austin. And I didn't really know who he was, but I walked up to him and this smile was like, and I was like, I kind of hugged him a little bit, and we got a picture. But following, let's kind of face it. The first year was a little. He was getting used to everything, and he was getting his feet wet. And the band was not as tight as it is now. Now it's perfection. But the following year, we went to Europe, and 2019, we did 8 shows, starting the middle of the tour from Berlin all the way through the end. And I swear, those venues were very small, and somehow every night ended up on the rail right under Buddy. So there was this connect, like, and when he gives you, that eye-to-eye connection, it was somewhere between Buddy and Dave, kind of. But he just the smile lit up because he recognizes you. And when you have that eye contact with really any of the band members, but particularly Buddy, you're just instantly happy and you're in a good mood because you know that he's just gonna, he just brings it. He just brings the energy. He brings the happiness. He brings the fun. And Dave is almost just amused to watch him sometimes. Like he's just awe of him. He's like, yeah, buddy, And then when the crowd chants, particularly that first and second year, Dave was just so thrilled that everybody accepted him the way that, and I look back on the videos and the couch tour things from back in those beginning years when he started, and Dave just loves to let Buddy shine too. He steps back and gives him his time to shine, his few minutes of whatever song, Louisiana Bayou at the end. And, he kind of dances with him and gives him his moments to shine, which is really nice because there's such mutual respect for each musician that they have for one another on the stage. Now it's just so apparent to me. And I think to anybody who really studies, I kind of pride myself on trying to be in the pit because I just love watching them undistracted. I watch their movement, their cues to one another, their body language, their eye contact, all the subtle ways that they cue each other and that they're in sync with each other. And it's nice to have that joy, that contagious joy. When you're in the back of the stadium, you don't really see exactly what's going on.
Right.
I mean, you get a good show, you get a good song, but you've got a lot of sort of interference with people in front of you, getting up to go to the bathroom, whatever. Keep phones up, But if you're fortunate enough to be in the front, you really can appreciate their camaraderie and their respect, for
Absolutely. It's very apparent in every little cue that they give each other. And, my wish for one day, not that this is going to happen, but would that not be amazing to just get an earpiece just to hear what they're saying to each other? I would just love that.
I can't imagine what they say to each other because sometimes they just crack up.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's saying something funny or, have they ever talked about like, did you see that chick down by the rail? She's fucking crazy.
You know what? I happened to read something. I went down some rabbit hole recently that they actually have nicknames for a lot of us fans that they see.
Oh, wouldn't you just love to know who and what they call them?
Well, my friend Justin has this long hair and he's always got
Yes, I know Justin.
I heard that they call him Shaggy. Like that's what I heard.
Okay. Does he know? Does he know he's Shaggy?
He knows.
Okay. He's a really sweet guy. I got to meet him in Omaha just briefly. Really cool cat. It looks like he's just everywhere.
He's an interesting person for you to interview because he's got a buddy pass. He flies to every show that he possibly I don't even think he missed maybe 2-3 shows last summer, but he also flies to every Packers game. He's from Wisconsin and he is not over 110 Packers games in a row. He flies anywhere for them.
Anyway. That's awesome.
They
have a connection. I need a buddy pass, don't you? I need a buddy pass. So let me tell you about so if you want to read later, take some notes. This is where the article came from. So nordkeyboards.com. Now I'm going to guess that Nord, N-O-R-D, is a brand. I don't know, or maybe it's just a website, but this is where I got this article from. Okay, so Arthur, Buddy, Strong is from Phoenix. And I think we did know that because on most of his Instagram posts, he talks about Phoenix and his family and all that. So at 9 years old, he was already playing the organ at his father's church. And, as I read this, thinking back at his stage presence and his, just everything that he has, you could tell that he was a trained professional performer. He just had a presence about him that has been taught. It may be natural, but you can tell he has experience being in front of a group of other people. And so never have I ever looked up his background. And probably the reason why I didn't is because I kind of knew the backgrounds on everyone else. And so I haven't quite caught up to him. And maybe it's like psycho that I look up their backgrounds, but I just honestly kind of want to know, like, how did you get here? Like, how did you get here? And so that's kind of what so with Buddy, I love his story so much because I didn't know he was attached to certain performers that I personally love. And then when I see think about those people together, I'm like, that's where all his swag comes from. It's where all his swag comes from. So he joined Grammy award-winning multi-platinum artist Usher, which didn't surprise me when I read it. It excited me. And I wanted to almost go back and listen to the Usher albums to be like, okay, do I hear like keyboards or organ or like what's going on here? He did 2 different albums with Usher. And he's also toured with Ariana Grande,
Yes.
Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, Katy Perry, Pharrell Williams, the Black Eyed Peas, Coldplay, Selena Gomez, Camila Cabello, so many big people. And so you can see all the influences of different kinds of music kind of molding him and shaping him to what he puts on stage for the Dave Matthews Band. And what I love is that the Dave Matthews Band and like Selena Gomez are maybe on very different, there's different kinds of music, probably with different kinds of audiences, but yet they just kind of intermingle, right? He's like, I can do that and I can do this and kill it in both. So he's multi-talented. He can do many different kinds of music. And so he's a very flexible performer. And that's what I can appreciate for him is that he's not just a Dave Matthews Band organist, keyboardist. He can do a lot. And so he's brought that to the band. And I'm so thrilled that we now get to watch him from such a close distance. I love him. I think he's a great addition to the band. And I can't imagine the band without him, although I mean, it's never going to be our choice. But when I saw his flexibility, not only within this, like doing it with so many different artists, but yet that he can play the drums, as we saw in the Gorge of 2021. Was it 2021 that Buddy played the drums at the Gorge?
Well, I was going to mention that to you because a whole new level of respect for the music there, because that was a very unexpected thing. And when I saw him take the drums over and heard him, and then I think one of the roadies took over the keyboards, which was like, wow, you can play keyboard. But Buddy, I mean, it was like Dave was like, what if Buddy Strong could play the drums? And there he was. He came out and so I was going to bring that up, that was a very unusual weekend, and it was a very historical in the Dave Matthews world. But he just brought a whole new level of.
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that. I wasn't there, but it was just like for people that were there and the people that were also at home waiting and watching and listening and all of the things. We didn't know what was going on, but we were so excited.
I know.
Excited. And I know a lot of people were disappointed in the beginning and then got excited later after they were like, okay.
Dave's personality, though. Dave is not going to disappoint his fans. He did whatever it took to get a show done for us. We were already there. Yeah. That was very surprising for all of us. And then watching Rashawn conduct some of the other musicians that were not in their particular roles. And I've seen him conduct when they've had guests on the stage come out. And I don't know if you know this. I was going to mention this to you. Rashawn is responsible for bringing Buddy to the band.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So what was the connection there? Did they just know each other from like past gigs or?
Rashawn is again, a whole new level of respect for him. And particularly, I was talking to my friend Christine a little while ago about this. Jeff and Rashawn are big social media sharers, and both of them, when they're off tour, they put a lot of posts out there to let you know what they're doing with their time and with their talent when they're not with the band, and Rashawn, I mean, he guested on Dancing with the Stars a few weeks ago. He did a show with, these, I forget who exactly, not Herbie Hancock, legends, jazz legends. He's worked and collaborated with lots of really legendary, other musicians, and he has mad respect for them. And he puts that up on his social. And Jeff has worked a lot with children, and he's trying to, enforce the importance of, musicality and following one's dreams when you're, and so yeah, each one of these musicians really does have their own life outside the band. Tim, of course, has his own band. You don't hear too much from Carter or, what Dave is doing, but Jeff and Rashawn particularly. So yes, Rashawn was responsible for bringing
Awesome.
Dave.
We'll have to send him a thank you note.
They had like almost an immediate connection, and we all know what was happening in the life of the band at that time with Boyd. So, it's an ever evolving, it's a living, breathing,
it is, and it will always be,
entity, and it probably will always be changing. But that was one of the biggest changes, besides losing, Leroy in the history of the band. And I think we all loved the original Dave Matthews Band that we fell in love with the violin and with Boyd. I know I did. And then sometimes change is hard to accept, but I think in this case, the change has been wonderful and positive.
So let's talk about the Coach Tour. So if you don't know what Coach Tour is, can you explain it? Yes. And then tell us what you do for them.
So because I go to a lot of shows, I try to get into the pit, and as I explained, I like to be sort of unobstructed view. But when I get a good spot in the pit on the rail, I try to do what they call the live streaming on the couch tour. So the DMB couch tour, which is like your sofa, like COUCH.
Okay.
It has, I think, over 9,000 members now. For people that are at home that can't attend that show, and say you're cooking dinner or you're doing whatever, you could log into the Facebook page and you could plug it into your smart TV and watch the full screen concert as it's happening. Because there's usually more than one streamer in the, in the show. Sometimes they're located way up in a seat. Sometimes they're in the pit, but they have people in front of them. And I find that people, bump into you, and it's very hard to do it nicely when you're not still. So I try to do it when I'm on the rail. And when I'm on the rail, I get a very clear and a very good picture. And I try to, zoom in on each musician as they have their little spot, like Carter's solo, and there's a lot of people that are very, very grateful for that. And I've had people contact me in private messages. One lady said that she was legally blind and she was in a nursing home, and by watching that, I filled her up so much. And another lady said that her husband's leg had to be amputated, and then his other leg had to be, and they couldn't go to shows anymore. And that by watching this from their home and their couch, and then another lady's son tried to commit suicide that week, and she was just so distraught. And she said, I just lost myself in that show for 2.5 hours. Thank you for bringing that to me. Like I felt there. So, and a couple of people have said to me, you're doing God's work.
You are. I can't think of how many times I've been at home and
I try to,
watched.
I'm very fortunate that I can go to so many shows, and I try to share it when I can. And I know there's other people in the community that do it. And, people like Andy, who has a way of actually putting it up there for good. He immoralizes it. Is that the word?
I don't know. He's a magician. Yeah. He's the editor of this podcast, so we love him.
But I like to be able to show people while it's happening, real time. Yes. And then you can actually watch the replays on the couch tour. So tune in if you can, and if I'm on the rail, I'll be happy to do it again.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of the work. I mean, I know I know it's a lot of work, even if you're at the rail, to like hold that phone and kind of be.
What's up, everybody? This is David with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. We're a nationally touring tribute to DMB, playing shows all over the country and beyond. Our goal is to bring you back to the classic sound that you fell in love with in the 90s and the 2000s, featuring a violin, saxophone, and maybe some keyboards sprinkled in as well. You can find out information about all of our tours and shows by visiting thedmtb.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and other socials by searching the Dave Matthews Tribute Band or the DMTB. Hope to see you on the road and enjoy the Space Between podcast.
You know,
I've figured out a way to master it where I balance my wrist on the rail and hold the phone. Again, like Andy said, I never put it up in front of someone's face or try to be invasive. Way to balance it and then hold it back so that you can get, a good view of the band members. So I try to be, mindful of other people. But yeah,
it's
someone
awesome.
told me I stick that they have on Amazon.
Yeah, that might be easier. I don't know. I'm sure there's something great out there. Amazon has everything, right?
And they comment, they're like, "Oh my gosh, hey, I wish I was there," And it's like, it's nice to see people's names, that I know.
Absolutely. Well, if you are watching or listening and you've never heard of the Couch Tour, you can find them on Facebook. I believe it's just DMB Couch Tour is like the name of the group. Is it a group or a page?
It's a Facebook page,
Okay.
and you just have to answer a couple of questions, and then they admit you in.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever there's a show happening, if you get on there, there's bound to be somebody streaming.
Yes. It's been super helpful for the shows that I haven't got to go to. So if you are unable to travel for whatever reason, definitely check out the Couch Tour. It will fill your heart, not as much as being there, but definitely more than just not being there at all. So check that out. Check that out for sure.
Oh my gosh, I wish I was there, but hey, at least I can see what's happening.
I mean, there's some comfort in that. It's sad to miss it, but then it's like we know we can't be at every show. So thank God there are people at every show that are willing to sacrifice their muscle to do that for us. So we're thankful. So we've got a couple of big things coming up. Of course, we've got tour that is just, what are we like 30, 40 days away, something like that?
My flight's on May 17th, so yeah, it's coming.
It's coming. So what are your thoughts on, with the new album coming out, and the fall or the summer tour already being released, do you think, this is just your thoughts, but what do you think about a fall tour?
I think it's very possible, especially since, well, we had a few shows last year, but coming off COVID, I know that they paused some of the things they wanted to do.
Sure.
Like I was ready to go to Australia right before COVID. They were doing 3 shows there. But I feel like with their energy and their vibe and a new album coming out, they're bound to add some more.
It seems like they would. They just promotion. I mean, not that the summer tour is not enough promotion, but I think, when you spend that much money and time creating something, you want to make sure that it's out in front of as many people as possible. And sometimes that means you have to market outside of your target audience, right? And so just going to these festivals and all of the little things outside of a normal tour are very helpful for selling a future album. So they kind of got to look at it, not that they're going to lose money, but looking at it from a business standpoint, there are things that you need to do on a release here. And so I do like to think that there will be a fall tour. If not a fall tour, definitely Europe or something in this of the new year.
To Europe every 5 years.
Oh yeah. So how long has it been? 2019 was. Okay, so.
But I know that South America, Dave Matthews Band has such a global reach. It's amazing to see. They're Brazilian. I'm on their Brazilian fan page. Portugal, Italy, they've got fans everywhere. I know that they try to keep them, satisfied with a show here and there. I do know that they were scheduled for the Australia tour because there's a big Australian fan base too.
Uh-huh.
The year that COVID hit, so maybe they'll be adding something international. But I know that they worked on this album a lot during COVID. I was just listening to an interview the other day with Dave. He was interviewed by that Mexican man,
Uh-huh.
and he was how a lot of this album came together during COVID, and they did it, some of them in pieces. Like Carter did his part and Dave did his part.
Wow.
And, make it sound like it was all together, but
it wasn't. I did not know that. I
Sure.
know they had been separated and pieced it together like that.
Yeah, he was saying that. Not all of them,
Mhm.
but definitely a lot of that was being worked on during COVID.
That's wild.
And then, of course, there's a lot of songs that we know that haven't been, I guess, recorded before.
I'm interested to see what a studio version of a lot of those songs will sound like, because, some of the songs that we do know have only been played live. And we know that live versions of songs tend to just be a little more lengthy or have a little more glitter inside of them or whatever. And so to see what they had to scale down in order to do a studio album, I'm interested to see what that sounds like. I'm almost... I'm always, and I'm a fan in general, but like if I can pick live or studio version, for the most part, I'm gonna say live. So I'm always like, well, we'll see what the studio album sounds like, but I'm sure it will be wonderful.
When I first started with this band, I went to so many shows. I didn't really own many CDs, and I only knew live versions. And then when the Sirius XM channel started, it was only temporary. The first few years was just summertime.
Right.
I would play this game with myself. I'd be driving somewhere and a version would come on, and I wouldn't look at the screen when it comes up on the screen. I say to myself, this must be the studio version because this sounds different to me. And sure enough, and then live versions, I also play this game with myself where I listen to Dave's voice. I listen to the horns.
Yes.
Listen to some other things like background. And I try to guess what year it was from. And, they definitely have defining elements to their periods of time that I can see.
Absolutely.
But I love Sirius XM for that reason, because they mix it up and you never know what you're going to hear or what version or what live tracks or what year. But yeah, the studio versions almost sound foreign to me because I didn't grow up I didn't grow up on that. I was growing up on listening to all the live music.
Right. We'll see what it sounds like.
I hear Madman's Eyes on lots of different radio stations around here.
Yeah.
And they play it on different channels of the Sirius XM. I hear it on Spectrum channel all the time. So I think it's going to be a pretty big hit.
Good. I hope that it does so well. There are so many, because I'm in California with a group of friends that are not necessarily Dave Matthews Band fans. They're aware of who that is. But she asked me yesterday, she said, so when was the last time they put new music out? Because you would think if you didn't know a band that's been around that long, oh, they're still putting music out. I'm like, well,
right.
Yes, they have an album coming out this year, and the last one was 2018, which is not that crazy, especially seeing how we've just gone through a pandemic. And so they're still very much relevant. It's just that for whatever reason, I don't think they've lost speed at all. I think they have more fans now than ever. What do you think about that? Do you think they were more popular in their beginnings, or do you think they've gained followers along the way and kept those?
Dave once said to David Letterman, or to, I guess it was Jimmy Kimmel, he said, we really don't have that many fans. They just go to every show.
It's true. It's true. What is 20,000 people just all go?
He said they just go to every show.
And that's cool. That's just dedicated fans.
That, because that's what I do, and I know a lot of people. But I think that at this point in the game, after 32 years, you're getting the generational fans now. You're getting the children of the original.
Isn't that wild? And it's lovely.
And the significant others, and possibly even the grandchildren. It's become generational. It's like when you go to a Billy Joel show, or I went to Bruce Springsteen the other night. I mean, you watch the 75-year-old people, knowing every lyric to every song, and then you see the 16-year-olds too. It's
Right.
multi. I mean, Dave Matthews Band has left a mark on the world that is going to be here forever. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Their name and their I don't want to say mission because that's the wrong word, but like their need to be used, even, or not used, but to have left their footprints even well past when they are, gone from this world. They've done that. So I consider that just being really successful when not only have you done what you wanted to do in your own personal life, but you have helped generations of people along with following your passion.
And it's a legacy that
A legacy, yes.
contains a message that is as relevant today as it was in 1991. The be kind to each other, spread love. All we need is love. Don't worry. Just have some faith. Everything's going to get past. And if you have each other to lean on, it's going to be okay. And the messages are of be kind to the planet and be aware. And the world it needs help, it needs love, it needs attention. And all these messages and all these words and lyrics ring true. I think they're going to be relevant until the end of time.
I believe so. I have a girlfriend that, well, Karen DeSano in South Carolina. Hey, girl. She said something one time that really kind of just stayed in my head. She's like something along the lines of, when I have a friend or someone that just needs some words, I almost always fall back on my Dave Matthews Band lyrics, because somewhere in a song I can find a pretty good message to give that person, and it's said in a way that gets them thinking, because Dave's lyrics are somewhat like poetry. Poetry doesn't always come across in the first
Poetry
place.
and I literally do speak to people sometimes in lyrics. I was talking to a friend just yesterday who was going through a really hard divorce, and we did a couple shows together, and we had a really good experience. And I said something about just keep remembering the good times. They're the gold. You're going to get dark clouds may hang on you, but
that's right,
you'll work it out, and the good times are the gold. And there's, like, when you say that to another Dave fan, it's just much more relevant. They understand
it's absolutely true, because we know it. Well, we know it's true, but I think we all tend to feed those words. And so when we get those words back to us, we're like, oh yes, that's right. That's what I'm preaching. I needed to receive that today. So exactly. It's just, it's so wild how amazing of a writer he is when it comes to lyrics, and how many different meanings a song can potentially have to its listeners. I love listening to people that say, have you heard this song, and here's what it did for me, which may be something completely different than that song did for me or for someone else. And so I love to hear this.
How you interpret it or what your situation is. But he's just so brilliant. I mean, I really would go as far as saying he's a modern day prophet, to be able to express lyrically and musically the messages, and just brilliant. And I sometimes wonder if he has any concept of how far his reach is.
I think that there's probably a ceiling, like where you're aware, but there's no way that you can be completely aware of the impact that you've made on millions. But also over 32 years, that number gets so much bigger, because he may have touched lives, and those lives are no longer here, which we know that has happened. And so the reach that he's had has been, I never like to speak directly about Dave unless it's specifically about Dave. So I want to back up and say this band has done so much. No matter who was in the band or what was going on in the band has always had a reach to people's hearts, always, and to their brains.
it's not just the music though, too. It's the relationships of the people that you meet along the way. I mean, think about how many marriages of people who met through the band, how many children who have been born. I know I could speak for myself saying that some of my best friends are
Mm-hmm.
met through, I mean, I have, high school friends and then college friends and then real life friends, but then my Dave Matthews friends are the most authentic,
Mm-hmm.
really true people. And I was just saying to somebody this afternoon, like, let's face it, when we meet up and we're going to see a show, we're all in our happy place
Yes.
and we're having a time, but we still keep in touch even during not showtime, and we're always there for each other
Mm-hmm.
in case through.
Yeah.
And it's just one to have that. It's almost like unconditional friendships that I've developed sort of in the middle of my life through this band,
It's just been so wonderful, and I wish that more people had something like the Dave Matthews Band, because I can see that something just as small as a band can do something for so many people. And so I know that there are other bands out there that are doing the same good work and are writing the amazing lyrics and, have a great support system
their
behind
community
them.
and their followings and their communities too. But I particularly think that this community is very special, and I'm just so grateful. I feel, you feel like you belong,
Yeah.
you feel like, at first I was like, is there something the matter with me that I keep going to all these millions of shows? Like 15 years ago, like, what am I doing? I always want to run. Every time I hear Dave Matthews, I want to run there.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, I kind of went by myself a lot at the beginning because I didn't really have people that I knew that would want to go with me.
Right.
But to really get the people that understand it and to embrace it the way that we do is
Mm-hmm.
very.
It is really special. In November, I went to Omaha, and so I brought one of my girlfriends with me who is not necessarily a Dave Matthews Band fan, but because she's one of my friends, she hears about it a lot, like every day kind of thing, right? And so she was like, I just want to see what in the world it is you're talking about, because she just didn't know. And so we take her, and her takeaway was, I understand now why it is you do what you do. I understand why you have pulled so many friends from, all of these different concerts, because they're just good people. Now, I'm not saying that every fan is a good person. That is not true. There are all kinds of awful people that like the Dave Matthews Band. But I'm just saying, like, we're on Earth still, right? Like, there's good and bad. But in my experience, I've met some really solid people who were very interested in hearing all of my crazy Dave stuff, because
Right?
people at home, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to think about it. And so it's like, there is nothing like getting with you or like with someone that can just understand exactly like what my emotions are about having that 38 days or whatever we're at until tour season. Then the excitement. I mean, it's like Christmas for me, like all summer long, like, yes, I cannot wait to go to Indiana. When else do you say that? Never.
Like I said, we all do it the same.
Yeah.
It's our happy place. But there's nothing wrong with that. People have their sports teams, people have their tailgating, people have their seasons. So when people, in my regular life or my customers say to me, why do you how can you do this year after year, like every show? I said, well, you have season tickets to the Giants or the Yankees, and you want to go see them play every game, and you want to get there early and tailgate with your friends, and you want to follow them through the season, and you want to even go to another city where they're playing and support them and cheer them on. I said, this is no different. It's all about your passion.
It is absolutely no different. There's just no there's no score because they're winning the whole time, right?
Right. Yeah. And then people call you groupies, which are like,
I love it when people call me that, because I always say, well, there is a difference between a groupie and a roadie. And I'm not having sex with anyone on stage. So what am I? Just a psycho follower? Maybe. That's cool. I think it's a roadie though, not a group. A groupie, isn't a groupie like from far back in the 70s, like, or 60s and 70s when like
that's the connotation that. And so when someone says that to me, it's a little bit of an insult. But
yeah, I'm like, I'm not sleeping with anyone, so back up.
Yeah.
But yes, we are whatever. We love to follow the band. And honestly, if I could be at every show and still be a good mom and wife, I'd be there. But that's not my story. But people like you are so exciting. I'm just so excited to watch you because I know that you're everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I can't be there, but I know Suzanne will be. And so you always are.
It's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and it gets exhausting. But I always say I'm going to cut this out, I'm going to cut that show out, and then we end up all doing it. But
Absolutely. And you have no regrets, do you?
no, and everybody, it's the same. There's actually memes that have been created. It's like the day after a Dave Matthews show, you're like dead exhausted, but it's so worth it.
I know. I know. I can generally, it's hard for me to even muster up like the energy to get out of bed every morning. But like in the Dave Matthews world where I'm, possibly been up for hours and hours on my feet the next day, I'm like, I'm so ready. Like I jump out of that bed as if they're giving free money away, which is just not the case at all. It's me throwing money at them and then getting excited to do it. So it's all kinds of messed up, but it keeps me sane. It keeps me happy. There are no laws being broken or anything. So what we're doing is okay. Even though we maybe look a little psycho from the outside, but that's okay. They just don't know the secret to happiness, which is for us, the Dave Matthews Band.
Is short, but sweet and important. So do what makes you happy.
That's right. That's right. So what tour or what venue specifically has you excited for 2023? What is there a stop that you're making that you've never made before?
Well, I'm going to try to come to your Arkansas show, which is going to be unusual.
You will love it.
Invite me, and I'm going to look forward to a little bit of road tripping time with you. And then I have some nice friends who I met last year who live near me in Florida, but also live in Baltimore, right across the street from Merriweather. And they invited me to come and stay with them. So that's going to be a new venue for me too.
Awesome. Well, that'll be really great.
And I've heard that they always have a good show at Merriweather.
I'm sure.
I'm that. Yeah.
I am sure.
So those two will be new for me.
That's awesome. I don't think I'm going anywhere well, that's a lie. I'm going to a lot of new places this year.
You're kidding.
I'm going to a lot of new places, but I'm all going with I'm not thankfully not going alone this year. Not that I have an issue with going alone, because I would rather go alone than not go. But we've got so many good people that I am going to be road tripping with this year, you being one of them. So I'm so excited for 2023. Yeah. I can barely wait. Yeah, I'm so excited. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for being willing to be on this podcast and just to share your story. Again, this is what this YouTube channel /podcast is all about, is the family around the Dave Matthews Band. And so I enjoy listening to everyone's why and what. And so thank you, Suzanne, for sharing your story with all of our listeners.
And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you this summer.
Yes, I'm so excited. If you don't know, guys, I will be at the first 3. I'm going to be a lot more than that, but the first 3 is what we're going to focus on right now, because that's the opener. So we'll be at Woodlands, Dallas, and Arkansas. And so there will be several of us there that are doing some kind of YouTube channel /podcast meet and greet. So if you want to meet us, cool. But if not, that's cool too. Whatever.
Maybe some on
yeah, well, we'll have merch. We'll have the whole deal. So I'd love to meet everyone if you listen. And if not, come on by anyways. But you will also get to meet Suzanne. And so again, thank you so much, Suzanne, for being on.
Thank you for doing this for the community. Absolutely. And your work. I mean, you're beautiful. You're producing this, and you're editing this, and you're, girl, you're
I know, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. This is again just
a wonderful thing that you're doing, and thank you for showcasing us fans and helping spread the love, because that's what it's all
about. That is my goal. Like I've said, I have a medical background, but I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So I just chasing my dreams and doing what makes my heart full. And so just recently, what I'm doing here in California is I've joined up with a therapy group out here who is gonna be part of the podcast and help support music therapy. And so we'll have our professional come on from time to time to talk with our panel and then to also do live discussions about why music is important from the moment of conception until the moment we die. So definitely stay tuned if you're interested in that kind of stuff. We'll have a lot
That's
of
really
new
beautiful.
Absolutely.
That's,
Absolutely.
don't lose the dreams inside your head.
Never, because they'll all soon be dead.
Thank you, Renae.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you, guys. Be sure to tune in next week for a whole new episode. And again, if you're watching this, you can listen to this on any of your podcast apps. But if you're listening to this and you'd like to watch us, be sure to just go to YouTube, which is the Space Between podcast on YouTube. Thank you, guys. Peace, love, and Dave Matthews.